welcome. Gio and I are hanging out today with Chris Davies, who is the CEO of Uncommon. You've been doing this for a long time, 8 years in London. We'll get to hear your background and how Uncommon came to be. You were in Juicy recently and got a hat, bugged Gio for a hat, and Gio handed one over. Yeah, thanks for doing this because it's late for you. What time is it for you?
7:10, but it's actually London's been remarkably good weather, so it's been fine.
Yeah,
It's been a good
it looks
day.
like it's still light out. You're doing well. Is this your home
Exactly.
office with all of these books in the back?
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
bookshelf.
I have to confess that I've turned the laptop and the computer table this way, so you get nice books. That way isn't a great view.
Okay.
So that's why I've done it this way. You know, you get to look intellectual and things like that.
You
But
look
yeah,
very intellectual. Yeah. Have you read most of those books or what?
I, I do. This is actually, I do like a book. I've got a habit of giving books as well to people. So it's a nice thing. A book with a note, I think, is nothing better than that. So lots of these books. I mean, I end up with multiples of some books, which is probably not the idea, but yeah, that's that.
So let's start with what's your favorite book back there?
Well, there was one that actually came from Juicy was the Unreasonable Hospitality book that I've read and put down. That was excellent. Highly
Yeah,
recommend
she
that
sent
to
me that
everyone.
too. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I did a
no,
podcast on it and I love that book a lot.
oh,
The audio book is quite good also because the author narrates it. It's super
yeah,
thought-provoking for people in our industry, isn't it?
super like completely. So everyone should go and get that book. I think I've given that book to at least, well, I've given it to everyone on, I guess, well, within the company, I've probably given it to 5 people, and I've probably given it out to another 5 people. So it seems to be I just end up buying books. But I mean, what else is up here? 1 second.
He's scanning.
Yeah, I've got 2 copies of Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. That's caught my eye only because I seem to have 2 copies. So if anyone wants a copy of this, I'll happily give it to them.
I love the what's your why? That's my question.
Always asking people, what's your why? It's all about the why. Let's go back to the why. What's your why?
And a guy called Jim Collins is also very good. Like I've got quite a few of his stuff. Yeah, there's just lots of interesting bits and bobs. I like collecting books.
So actually, that's a good way to start. What is your why? How'd you get into co-working? What's your background?
So, how did I get into it? So I've always been fascinated with buildings. That's kind of been buildings and building companies has kind of always been my thing. From a kind of young age, I was like, kind of looked at things like how does that, like, why do people like that building and not that building? And then I did I qualified as a surveyor over here, so got all like the official chartership stuff that you have to do, and did the kind of more corporate-y route into it. Along with like university, I started a clothing business, and I've done lots of random businesses along the way. A chocolate fountain business, that was an interesting time period.
Hold.
Uh-oh.
You
got the fat kid inside of Jamie going.
Is this like a side hustle? What's the business?
Yeah, that was I think it was just a way to go to parties at age like 16 or 17 and be paid to go. It was excellent. I think the best one, I mean, me and a mate basically rock up to like weddings and things like this with our chocolate fountain, and people paid us to do so. So yeah, that was that was an interesting one.
That's a fun fact. Thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, don't worry, that's cool. And then did clothing stuff at university. So did like sportswear clothing, probably less fun, less parties, certainly. And then did the corporate thing. The corporate thing wasn't really for me. And like I was probably the worst agent in the world. I couldn't really, it wasn't my thing. But it's because I really need to believe in something and really get behind something. When I struggled in many ways, jumping through teams, doing different bits at different times, and never really getting into projects. So that's why I think I struggled that. But it gave me a good grounding in lots of different bits, and I was doing residential development by the end of it. we had a residential project then when I moved and left. We then had a residential project that was going slightly wrong, and that's how we had a mistakenly fell into co-working. So it's a very happy accident. That's then, as you say, it seems, well, it's you kind of scare me when you start saying how long I've actually been doing it.
According to
but yeah,
LinkedIn, it looks like almost 8 years.
yeah, which unfortunately is true. It's been amazing to see our industry grow and evolve. I mean, I remember when we first started doing it, it was like I was begging agents to come and see and have a chat with me. Can you please help me fill this building? And it was kind of a, well, you're only going to get one person offices in, like person companies that aren't really very stable, and it's not really a thing, is it? And then you kind of fast forward to, I guess, not even to now, you fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5 years from that point, and it really started to evolve. So it's been a real privilege to kind of see a industry kind of grow up. We're not done growing at all, but it's been a lovely thing to kind of watch and see how it evolves, and be part of it, really.
And so day to day, what's your favorite part about co-working?
Oh, I mean, look, I'm lucky. I've got a great team around me, and spending time with them probably takes up most of my day.
Okay.
Like the lucky point that I have is that we've got 5 sites in central London, that I can actually visit in one day. So I can get on my bike and get around all of them, and that's a really nice thing. And I think it's also quite a rare thing. So for me to be able to do that, it means we kind of keep everything nice and close. We understand all that's going on. I guess a big difference for us is like we actually own all the real estate that we have. So it means that from a business model point, we can be investing in a lot of the assets in the way
Wait,
we want
did you
to
say you
invest in
own
them.
it?
I knew
Well, we
that was
own,
coming.
yeah, we own all the real estate. That's been the thing that we've always done. So
Wow.
we're fundamentally a property company that has a very, very service-based offering, and kind
Brilliant.
of like it to me from the outset was what the game, if you want to call it a game, should be.
Yep.
I've always struggled with the lease model because I kind of struggle with, but what happens in year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 when
Yeah.
you
Well,
kind of sit
especially in
there?
London, there are markets in which the lease works, people make money.
Yeah,
No, it's case by case basis, but in a market like London where you've got premium rent and right, you're marking to
yeah.
market every 5 years. Yeah, forget about it.
It,
Interesting.
we are central. Like we couldn't be
Yeah.
like one of our sites on Liverpool Street just overlooks probably, well, one of the biggest kind of infrastructure changes that's happened around one of the tube lines. Like we literally overlook all of that site, so we are prime location, and a lot of our sites are, and it's building a business around that idea, um and buying assets. It's a different way of approaching it. We didn't always have the approach of, to be fair, or to be clear, we didn't always have the approach that we wanted to be in very prime central locations. We originally started with the idea that actually we were going to be buying real estate in what in London is like zone 2 and 3, which is basically not the central kind of core CBD area, because we kind of wanted to avoid the competition. We kind of, so that was our first asset was a bit further out. Our second asset was, well, we bought 2 at the same time, basically. One was further out and one was more central. It was just fascinating seeing how many inquiries we got for that more central asset. And then that's what kind of then prompted us into, okay, well, actually, why are we fighting this? Let's try and make our life easier. And then we've got more and more central as we've gone on. And our newest one's opening in September. That's in Holburn, that's in right, like slap bang in the center, midtown, that we kind
So
of
that's
call
held
it.
through COVID, that trend of, central
Yeah.
location doing really well.
Yeah, I think we see it. Our Liverpool Street building has got, we can have space for 850 desks in there, and we'll get a month that we'll have well over 1,000 desks worth of inquiries. So we could, in theory, if we took every deal that came through, we could fill it up in a month. Thankfully, we don't have to do that every month. It's quite helpful not to. Yeah, it's interesting seeing how that market and the demand that's in that market, it's helpful for us because obviously we get to sit there with occupancies that are very good. I mean, we quite often are sitting 95% plus in our occupancy across the board. So bring it back, I guess, to say some of the US and juicy stuff, the bits that I'm hearing, like the London market is a very different place. London offices are kind of a different place. And it's nice to be able to, I'm kind of lucky from that point of view, I guess, is my summation of it.
Before Gio moves on back to the why, B Corp. Why a B Corp?
So I mean, fundamentally, and the team will say different things, but fundamentally, it's very much our core, and it has been for a while. So while B Corp is a wonderful label for us, and it's a wonderful achievement, and it's taken us a long, long time to get there, we were already doing lots of these things, and we were already, for the past 5 years, 6 years, probably not from day one, but certainly like the last 3 to 4 years, it's been very central, that element of how do we do better? How do we do right by suppliers? How do we do right by our team? How do we build something that is genuinely a good thing in what the real estate market at times maybe hasn't been? How do we build something that we're ultimately, the way I kind of view it, is that we're truly proud of? And the B Corp side of things is kind of, it's given another like thumbs up, approval, something that can sit alongside to say, actually, you are doing all those things, and kind of hold us to account on that. So it for us has been kind of a intersection of a very long and continuing journey. Like, we know we're not there yet. We're there, and the end point is, no one really knows. Like, all we can do is keep trying our best, and that as a company is what we're going to do. And it's important for not just me, but it's important for the team. It's important for everyone that's around us, that we've kind of aligned around that, and we've really kind of pushed towards it. So it's been an important thing. It's been an important milestone that is definitely not the end. It's just going to continue. We've just actually released our second sustainability report, so that's there for everyone. Like, we like sharing everything, because it's important that we do these things, because if we can help others in the industry come on the same journey as us, like, theirs will probably be different, but if we can help a little bit, then we should. Like, this isn't about trying to keep everything, and I think this is probably one of the nicest things about the sector, is actually, compared to a lot of other sectors, everyone is so open and kind of just wanting to help each other. Like, that's been great. Like, I've often called up others. I've often had lots of phone calls, certainly like through times like COVID, saying, what are you doing about this? Like, in this completely unknown circumstance, what do you do? Like, I don't have all the answers, and my team probably doesn't have all the answers. And we kind of, then it's so nice to be able to ask others. Like, we've got like a big competitor, like all the TOG guys, like they're opening a building down the road from us. I've gone round it. They've come around to see ours. Like, it's a nice thing. It's not, our competition isn't each other. It's just versus offices, and versus a bad experience, and versus people staying in their homes or going to coffee shops. Like, we've got to provide the best experience we can. We've got to do it in a way that then people choose to come in. Like, if you spend all your time fighting others and thinking that's your competition, then it's kind of madness in one sense. Anyway, that's a long-winded answer.
Well, I get to be the teacher for once. I'm typically the one getting reprimanded. So, Jamie, for those that don't know what a B Corp is, I know we talked about it, I think, with John when we talked about Hub Australia, but do you want to talk to listeners real quick about, you want to give a quick synopsis on what B Corp is?
I think Chris has to do that. I don't actually know. I know there aren't very many co-working spaces who have the designation at all. Like, a handful. Yeah. So yeah, Hub Australia has it. There's a woman named Felicia who runs Haven in Darien, Connecticut, who has it. I'm trying to think of who else. It's not a huge, I'm sure there are others, but there's not 100 of them, I don't think.
Like, if from a B Corp side of things, like, it's basically a certification that you've got to go through that scores you, and I think it's the scoring ratio is basically you've got to get over 80 points to then be certified as a B Corp. And I think there's something like, now, if I've got to get this right, like something like, is there like 161 different industries they work in, or something like 160-ish. and you're seeing loads of different people doing this and getting there, and it's about trying to step forward in the right way of solving different pieces. Like the good thing from, I guess, from our side was that we wanted to do things in a way that it wasn't just some of maybe the UN goals that were quite challenging, and how, like, we need to be specific, and it needs to be specific about us. Let me Google
So
the
here's
exact
the
Let's ask
official, real quick.
ChatGPT.
The B Corp certification is a designation that a business is meeting high standards of verified performance, accountability, and transparency on factors from employee benefits and charitable giving to supply chain practices and input materials, social and environmental performance.
So I need to memorize that. But the bit that was the most important thing for me, I think, on the B Corp side was actually the fact that you go all the way up to your shareholders agreement, and you go all the way up, and it gets changed to basically enshrine it in, if you want, the company kind of law, that this is the way we will be. Like, we will do this for that kind of the better of not just people, the place you're in, the environment. Like, all of these things get considered. So to me, it's a very good stamp that's there, and very openly. There'll probably be, in the next 5-10 years, others. Like, there'll probably be other ones that come through that may be better, that we then should go and explore. And that is a very important thing for me, that it's not, the B Corp is probably is one of the very important ones for us now, but it's not the end. It's not just, okay, well, we're now a B Corp, we can rest on our laurels. We don't get recertified for another 3 years. Cool, job done. That's not what this is about. It's kind of saying, well, okay, that has been one standard that's there. We've then got loads of other standards that might be around, like, I don't know, in the UK we use BREEAM. I think you guys use LEED and stuff like that. There's loads of different ones that you can go and use from a building level. Like, what's the best one to be pushing out there? And it's not about just going around collecting stamps. That's not the point. It's around saying, well, we're doing all these things anyway. We're doing them for us. We're doing them for our members, and we're doing them for kind of every one of our stakeholders. If we collect them along the way because we're doing it anyway, great.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see more and more, like you said, of that, and there could other designations may come out that play along with that. So I think it's awesome that you guys have gotten that. Kind of going back to owning the real estate, right? Because I'm a nerd when it comes to that. Jamie knows it. That's why she's smiling. That's my preference always. And I've got several clients and more that are getting into that, realizing that playing the real co-opco game is really the way to go. So what made y'all decide to do that, and how do you go about picking the real estate? I mean, is it a partnership that you've got with a real estate developer? Did y'all just take up investors? How did y'all go about it?
So from a investment point, so we've got the backing of the Carlyle Group. So we did that. I mean, look, the story on that is effectively had one building, proof of concept, did that and saw how that was flying, then said, look, this is what we want to go and do. And then quite simply, we started calling, and we went through like the private equity real estate list and said, right, well, who's got money? That list, anyone can go and download. And then I had phone numbers, and I just started calling, asking for meetings.
Dialing for dollars.
Quite literally, and you need to, like, at that stage, like, we had nothing else to lose. I'm sure, like on our first pitch, I'm sure was terrible. I know it was terrible, but that's okay. Like, to some level, it's okay, because then you refine everything, you get better, and it goes for every pitch ever since. It's like the first one might be, test that out a bit, and maybe don't make it on your most important person that you're going to be seeing on that list. And we went round town, and we were trying to say, right, this is our proposition. You then have the luck of timing. And you hope that, oh, I don't know, there's the echo. And you hope that things go with you on that. So we were having those conversations, building up our kind of knowledge. We had, and I still think it's a part element of luck, but I think everything is in timing to then obviously secure Carlisle, and they've been our financial backers ever since. We've then gone on and acquired the building that's sitting, you're technically sitting in here, in Fulham. We've then had bought our borough building, and then a year after that bought Liverpool Street, and a year and a half after that bought our Holborn site, which we've been developing ever since. I mean, the Holborn building is a kind of case study. Has been the first one we've gone truly all the way through with. So we've gone back to frame on the building. We've done absolutely everything. It's a big project. I mean, it's in terms of it's 110,000 square foot net building. So it's a big building.
Wait,
so
is it 110,000 of flex? You run the whole building?
Yeah.
Wow.
To me, it's like, and it's all about controlling the experience. I get very, it doesn't work for me, and this is going to be different. Lots of people run these things differently. It doesn't work for me when I don't control everything in the building. Like, I want to control how that front reception works. How does the person on that reception act when someone walks through the door? Because it sets the tone for what then goes on everywhere else. How many sets of I guess reception desks does a person have to go through to get to the meeting they're trying to? Like, how does the front door work? How does the air conditioning system work? Like, how do you control absolutely everything unless you can, or anything unless you control everything? And I think that's the bit, that the shift that our industry is going to go through next, is they're going to have to get more hands-on with things, not just because you've got all the ESG elements that are coming in, the environmental side of things that are there. But I think
the US is
the
way
experience
behind on ESG, by the way.
Yeah, and it's probably more challenging. Like, in many ways, like, I don't know, take New York, for example. Like, the buildings are so vast. Like, I mean, what do you do? Control a whole building and do it all flex? I mean, my argument would be, well, yes, that's the way you get forward and actually control the experience. But I actually think within that, you can do different things. You might control the whole building, but if you do traditional deals on the, say, the top element of the building, but your flex operator is the one that's responsible for the front desk, not some other external third party that isn't going to give the right concierge style, hospitality style response. I think that's the mindset shift that I think we'll go on and see more and more of.
Well, when you to go back to the unreasonable hospitality book, it's like when you put that hat on, when you can't control the full experience, and maybe, the landlord has designed kind of a suboptimal experience, for the entrance or the lobby or whatever it is. Yeah, you're kind of starting from behind on your ability to impact that when you can do the whole thing and really get into it. It's an interesting perspective because the lease is still far more common, in the model. I also love the ownership, for the economic model and for the experience aspect that you just mentioned. And clearly you're thinking a lot about that. It's fun.
Yeah, I could, again, I could more easily give up the economic element of the lease side than I could the experience side, because I can't, the simple things that you give away when you're not controlling every element of the building. Yeah, that's where I think the hospitality, the service element is kind of really won and lost.
Jamie and I are looking at each other like, who's taking the next question?
I thought Gio was ready to go.
So as far as demographics go, when you're picking the building, I mean, so I'll tell you, my background is 10 years of retail, right? And so ultimately I tell people, as co-working operators, we're retailers, right? We're looking for traffic patterns. We're looking for incomes. We're looking for the consumer, right? Because ultimately that's who's going in our space. And the consumer can be everything from a individual entrepreneur, counselor, all the way to a corporation, right? Enterprise group. So how do y'all go about picking and choosing where and what you're looking at, right? I mean, what part of town, what size, all those things.
Yeah, I mean, we've been, again, probably because of the fact of buying real estate, it's a lot more permanent in one sense.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a 20-year lease is pretty permanent, but it's we have to be very deliberate about that. I think for me, we've always sat there and gone, why are we going to be in central London? What's the reason for that? And it's a simple equation on the amount of businesses that are in central London versus more peripheral locations within the UK. We thought about it. We thought about, do we go into more of the regions? for us and what we're trying to produce, it's just not our thing. Others do it better. It's the same with, do you go abroad? I mean, I've also got some pretty strong views on the fact that real estate, I don't think travels very well. Like, you either know your market or you don't. And I know London. We know London as a company. It's our kind of home, and it's the sector or the space or the location even that we know has got a lot more growth to go. I can get very, very prescriptive around certain things like station exits and how far away from tube stops and all of these types of things. And we've built various different AI tools and models that basically tell us where to buy buildings. So we've gone that far with our thinking. But for us to then say we're going to move to a different city is a different question and a different thing. So to actually answer your question, I've got a long list of things that a building must have, from the bones of the building and the light of the building all the way through to the locational points, that we just have to be very, very prescriptive about and very explicit around with whoever's sending us spaces, because that's the only way you get what you want. And we say no to an awful lot. I mean, it's why we've been so arguably slow. Like, you say 5 spaces to people and kind of go, oh, that's not many. It's only when you get into, well, what do we actually do with those 5 spaces? And we've kind of gone at 1 a year and we've renovated all of it. We've done everything ourselves, that you then start to be like, okay, well, actually that is slightly harder. Because it's a kind of, I don't know, in the like tortoise versus the hare, we're definitely the tortoise, but I'd far rather be the tortoise.
Wait, but how
just
many
get it right.
how many square feet? What's your typical
So we're now
110,000 feet? That's significant.
It's significant. So we're about 250 square foot total. We've effectively doubled with every building that we've bought. So we've doubled the size of each building. So we've started with a 20,000 square foot building and then kind of gone up in increments from there. And again, it's kind of making sure you take the learnings from every building. Like the new one that's opening, I hope is double or 10 times as good as the last one. And it's gone on just like this, because we take every single learning all the way through. And then we also, most importantly, take what those bits that we've learned and in the new spaces, and we actually invest back in the rest of the buildings and bring them up through. And I think that is the benefit of probably the benefit of having the freehold is that we've got the free cash flow to invest back into our buildings, which means they aren't getting tired and old, which I think our sector will struggle with and does struggle with. And if you want the highest rates, that's what you've got to be doing. And people notice, like they do notice if you're not keeping on top of all your maintenance and repair stuff. They notice all these things. So yeah, it's important.
So when you curate your space, I mean, as I look at your pictures, I mean, you've got some unbelievable spaces, right? I mean, it's beautiful, lots of greenery, like you can see behind me if anyone's watching the video. But I mean, how do y'all curate space? I mean, how do you know how to build out the space? Obviously, office sizes, open areas, and then the design overall.
Office sizing, let's start with that one, because it's an interesting point that I think we get wrong as a sector a lot. Like, I think we're far too, again, prescriptive about, oh, well, we're going to build 8-man, 10-man, 12-man desks. Why do that? I've long held the belief that you build the space, you build it, and you're very deliberate about what you're building, but you build the bones around it, and you wait for the tenants, members, whatever you want to call them, to come to you and tell you. And that's what we do. Therefore we choose buildings that are very logical, that can go through in a grid pattern and then say, right, well, this is what we're going to do. Do you want your wall here or here? And being able to do that and keep that flexibility in the model, because that's what it's about to me, is the flexibility of, well, what does a space do, not the flexibility of necessarily of like the length of the term that obviously lots of people pin it to. I think it's about how do we use the space flexibly, and that's a big thing to me. So how we then sell out all the spaces that we literally have open floor plates, but they know the product that we've created around the building, and they can see other examples, and we say, what would you like? And they say a 20 person, and then off we go.
Are you doing this with with wall systems or drywall? How are you?
We're still doing it with drywall stuff, but it's doing certain things around, like I I can go on a rant about how I don't like raised access floors. It's a very boring rant that I won't do on the podcast, but it's just like for our world, I think people get very the raised access floors don't work because you then have noise issues, you then have effectively plugs in every wrong place, you're constantly cutting holes in the floor, it means you can't do nice hardwood flooring. Like, we don't have raised access floors. We do in one building, but we don't in general. So making a choice like that means that you can then take a different view on it. So if you're going and doing your kind of standard wall up, it means that actually it's built on top of the the background you've now gone to. It's built on top of the like wooden floor that you can then just actually take down. And as long as you're logical about things like don't put power through that wall, it means that the cost difference of doing that is £1,000 versus £10,000. And it's being very, very logical about every single, or very intentional, I should say, about every single element that you put through when you're designing a space and an office. And I think that's the bit that we have over our time got better and better at. And it's kind of coming fully to fruition with Hoburn in the way we're doing certain things around the air conditioning systems, and like it's being super intentional, I think, is probably my long answer to that one. Go on.
Do you pass so this flexibility, it's super interesting, and not many people are, I mean, what you just said seems logical, but nobody does it unless they don't do it with drywall, that's for sure. So okay, if I come in and I say, yeah, I want a space for 20, put the walls here, do I have a minimum commitment for that request?
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes. To be honest, it comes back into the other question of like, what's our kind of target audience? Like, we tend to do larger and longer clients than in general. Like, we've got our kind of minimum stuff that we do really is 12 months now, all the way ranging up to kind of 2-3 year stuff. So for that, like if we're getting super bespoke in the way that we're kind of tailoring and curating that office for someone, then there will be a longer commitment to it. But in terms of when we're doing the initial first sell, so when we're first selling out a building and releasing it to market, we need to build the wall somewhere. So we're just letting them choose. So we're not charging them for that. It's kind of saying that these are the logical places. We'd rather you come in and we get the client than we try and guess, because if you, in the best will in the world, I'm always going to be wrong. So that's where that logic comes from, is just trying to take away the guesswork and just let the market kind of dictate and kind of listen to the market, really.
And after 3 years, you might have to move the wall.
Yeah. But we're set up for that. Like, we're
yep.
So you pre-thought it. You've not gone, right now I need to move a wall and I put loads of plugs through it, and I put all the floor boxes, and you can see how you get backwards into the issue. Whereas actually we approach every single building knowing that that's what we're going to do, and we give ourselves as much flexibility as possible.
And I think that's where people go wrong is, I mean, I tell people all the time is, look, we just have to be intentional when we build it, right? Either knowing that we're going to make changes, or like short term if it's new space, or long term if we're adjusting, right? And so where are you putting the electric? Where are you putting the HVAC? All those things. And I think that's where people get wrong is they put them in the wrong place, and then you're stuck. Right. Back to your point of then having to cut and move and do all kinds of stuff. And so, I mean, obviously I'll look at it from a really methodical standpoint and really understand not only the current needs, but the future needs as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I think you have to. I mean, I know I'm lucky in the sense that by buying the buildings, we get a lot more control over all of it. We can decide what HVAC system here, we can decide what units we're putting here, and we can make those changes, and we can, as I say, be very intentional and deliberate about it. But yeah, you've got to get that right, otherwise you will be paying twice, doing it, missing out on things, doing different. Like, I think you just get it wrong, and it costs.
Oh, Jamie, I'm giving you a chance to jump
I know to
in.
sneak in. Sorry. Okay. Um, well, I'm curious about your visit to the US for Juicy. What were your takeaways? Sort of what's different, or what were you like, huh? What are these people doing over here? Or, any of the bigger speakers that you were like, I feel like maybe they're not really, saying what's actually happening in real life.
Um,
We're uncensored. Tell us anything.
I mean, look, let's start with real life. Real life's kind of hard. Like it seems hard at the moment, and I think that's okay to kind of go through. Yeah, it's not the kind of existential crisis element that the office has faced, where people have kind of made it a war about the office, and I'm just like, it's not. I think I'm stealing from others when I kind of describe it as it's a software versus hardware kind of discussion, and the office is a hardware piece, and if you've got kind of the software as your company culture and all these other pieces, like that's a bit you've got to deal with. The bit that I'm a true believer of is the best offices, i.e. the best hardware, like that we play a massive part in, like will get stronger and stronger and do really well. But the problem is at the moment, I think it's being caught in just negative for office in general. Which is not what we actually experience, certainly from a London and certainly from our position on the ground. Like we're busy, very busy, which is great, and I'm lucky from that point of view. But I know certainly from the US, it's a pretty negative office view that does, however way I want to. I'm fundamentally we're backed by a US company, like that. You've got to come and see the UK, and you've got to come and see the London office setup, and you've got to come see what we're doing, and just how many people are around, and it kind of gives you a lot of kind of, not hope's the wrong word, but it's kind of definitely gives you, well, actually this is what people want to be doing, this is where people want to be, because you see the energy that's going on, and that energy point is huge. So yeah, I think there was from my visits, it was amazing firstly to see like Convene and their kind of setup. Like they do an amazing job with the kind of hospitality side. It's a very different setup to a lot of that I've kind of seen, because they're very much kind of set up for big conferences, which I think is great. And like you can see how that really works, and the model is different from a lot of others. So I think Ryan and the team have done really well with what they create there. I think the market is the same in terms of people wanting to help, which I think is amazing. And I think there's lots of kind of interest in the sector, and I think a lot of the kind of future view of what's an office going to look like and what's it going to function like comes, I think, from within that kind of room. I think we do need to all kind of get real about the investability of our sector and the kind of maturity of what we're actually trying to produce. And investors, if they want to invest in this space, they need to see mature operators acting in a mature way with the data that's behind them, that's backed up by fact, and running it in that way. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we grow and who's going to do the growing over the next 10 years. I'm not clear on that. I don't know who's going to really kind of drive on and through. You've obviously got the main players that are still there, but how that all unravels, who knows? And who's left kind of standing in 10 years' time, and what does it look like? And are we just calling offices? Does the flex industry just become offices in general, and everyone just refers to them as offices? And of course, everyone has the same amenities in every single building, because that's what all the tenants members want. Yes, I think that's probably a likelihood. You see it already when all of the landlords, I mean, you guys probably see it more than me, but like all of the landlords coming and saying, right, well, what do we do? It started with, well, let's add in a few sofas and some furniture, and that'll do, to right, well, maybe we now need to have a whole sales team. And I think that traditional market's the one that's going to be evolving the most in the next kind of 10 years, coming much more towards our model. So it's going to be fascinating, I think. And you pick up lots of that from the conference, and it's always good conversations around that.
Well, I mean, one of the big things, I mean, in the UK, obviously y'all own your real estate, but partnerships and management deals are a huge part in the UK, right? They're way more sophisticated there than we're here, right? We're at this point really most people are talking about them and very few are getting them done. We're seeing more and more of those getting done. Kind of what's your view on how that's evolved? And oh, look at that big old smile. I think I just tapped on something you want to jump into. What's your view on how the UK that's playing out in the UK and really in the US? Kind of what would you say about that?
I struggle, being honest about it, because my issue with management agreements and just logically, they should work really well. Logically, you get an operator that comes in that knows what they're doing, and you get a landlord that doesn't want to do the heavy lifting. My problem comes in just alignment. The ones I've seen, some really work, but there does get a moment where either the landlord thinks that the operator's being greedy and they can do it themselves, or the operator thinks, well, this is too much like hard work. I'm just making money for the landlord. And it's very, very difficult. Like, again, that market needs to either standardize and mature and everyone and people accept of what does a kind of standard agreement look like to really then roll, I think. But it's a challenge. Like yes, I think more are being done in the UK because I think more landlords are or have to be open to it because they've realized that actually their market has just been eaten up by the serviced office market, and therefore have been evolving and been doing things maybe slightly quicker. And also, quite frankly, probably going and signing some of these agreements to learn from the various different operators. I totally would if I was in their shoes. And then they'll say, well, we're going to do it ourselves. And you've seen that from a lot of the big REITs that are over here. That's like, in one sense, what they've been doing, learning and then rolling out themselves. Cool. It's a question of whether they get to the same place, pass. But I think the pinning all the kind of, as an operator, to pin your hopes on finding a landlord that's willing to give you space. And I'm probably, to caveat this, I'm probably talking about these bigger buildings that I like to control, and it comes back to that control point. Like, if I'm asking for a 100,000 square foot building, is a very different thing to if I'm potentially taking over 10,000 square foot, or say 20,000 square foot in a 100,000 square foot building, or you're taking 100,000 square foot in a million square foot building. It's a very different thing. Like, if you're a small-ish percentage of that building, I think it's fine. Like, and actually those agreements do work. So just to caveat my point, but that goes against my kind of rule one, which is I want control. So that's why I have these kind of balances in my head of like, well, what would we ever do? Well, we want the control of the building, but therefore we're not going to be able to do a management agreement unless they want to give us the whole building. And that's that balance.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that's a big part of it, right? And I think you've got people on both sides of it, right? Is the value of being able to partner and control what's going on within the space. Because I'll tell you, when I used to do the Regis deals, we get landlords to be like, yeah, we'll do the deal, but we want to be able to be part of the process of how the space is built out. And that's like, well, you're signing a lease. You don't get that. You don't get to tell us how to design a space if you're signing a lease, right? And then I think as landlords have moved more towards overall amenitizing the building and creating synergy and programming and all those things. I mean, you start having those conversations. We used to say that, we're an incubator for the building, but if you sign a lease, you technically don't have any fiduciary duty to be an incubator for the building, right? Does it end up happening? Yeah. If your community manager becomes and builds a relationship and becomes friends with the staff for the property, probably called property manager, or the brokers or anything else. But there just seems to be too much of a conflict of interest unless you have a really, really buttoned up management agreement that is really clearly defined the different roles that people are playing, right? And so I think being able to think through that. And a lot of people don't, right? And right now we've got people out there doing management agreements from the landlord side because they're scared, because they're uneducated, quite frankly, of what their options are. And I think that's why when looking at the UK and how sophisticated it's become over there, I mean, I think you guys are closer to getting to what you're talking about of having a really defined understanding of what that is than we have here in the US.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean, we from an us point of view, like we've been so in our box, and I've been happy in our box, and been
Smart.
we've turned down so many leases that I've been told this will be very good for you. We've not entered into any there was one management agreement we almost got close to, but that was for very specific reasons. And there's just enough of the market for us. Like we've kind of got our plan. Like we know what we want to do. I want to go and open another 10 of these. And I want to do that basically along this kind of central line, if you will, of kind of London. And that's what I'm working towards. And we're if we put our resources as Uncommon into building a better business and focusing on all of the kind of sustainability elements and all of the tech side of what we're doing and all of these other bits and focusing inwards, that's the bit that I'm very, very focused on at the moment, and the team is, so that we can then, when we do come out and say, right, we're buying a new building, we're doing this, we're doing that, it's kind of, okay, we're doing it, we're moving on, and that's fine. But we do it kind of very slowly. But the first bit very quickly, last bit, the buying building bits very slowly.
So outside of your professional life, what are you excited about? What excites you?
Outside of professional life, I mean, I've literally just got back from a skydiving trip in Spain. If that's an
Wow.
outside of things. Yeah, so it's just I guess a risky hobby one takes up every
Totally.
once in a while. But that was fun. Yeah,
Not your first time.
No, I've probably done. Yeah, how long we were there for? I don't know.
Have you seen Mission Impossible? He's the guy jumping out in Tom Cruise's stead. He's done it a few thousand times.
Yeah, we've done it a few times, and it's I don't know. The amazing thing of that is a kind of side thing. I'm into like everything, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is my other thing, and the only reason I'm into all of these things is because it's complete escapism. Like you can literally, like your phone. I mean, take the skydiving. I'm talking through that one. Like my phone isn't anywhere near me for the whole time that I'm doing that. I am very, very
really
focused.
present when you're
exactly super present, and that's what it's about for me. That's what I need, is to be super present on stuff, that because otherwise my brain then slips off into, right, well, how can we make this better? How can we do this? And that's a challenge. So I need these. I mean, I guess arguably extreme version of things to go and do. Like while I might have lots of books, I can distract myself reading a book for a little while, but actually, I need that kind of adrenaline and focus to then give myself space, and it's kind of how I decompress. I'm not one to go and sit on a beach for a holiday. Let's put it that way.
So
I don't
get
think
the
we
feeling
interview a lot of people who can do beach vacations.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're boring. So do you have like a safety deposit box that has like multiple passports with multiple names? You sound like Jason Bourne jumping out of planes, jujitsu.
I do have I shouldn't admit these things, obviously, but I do have like a grab bag that and this came out from COVID, I was like, yeah, of course, I need a grab bag in the house. If you just need to escape, just make sure it's there. That's as far as I've got. Like I've not got multiple passports, definitely not.
Multiple identities.
Yeah, multiple. No, yeah, spend far too much time just at work and just focusing doing normal things like work. Not multiple passports. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, just by looking at your spaces, I mean, I think I would move to London just to work from your spaces.
100%. I was thinking the same thing. They're
Ever.
amazing. Yeah. Really well done. I'm coming to London in November. I'm going to come visit your
Yeah,
space and
you'll
hopefully
come,
catch you in person.
come see Holborn. Come see
Okay.
Holborn when that opens in September. That will be my challenge is for that to be the best in London. So therefore, hopefully up there with one of the best in the world. So hopefully people will come and see that and go, right, this is good. This is what good hopefully looks like. I use the word hopefully a lot because I'm in this last phases. Phase of this, and it's kind of been a project that's been going on now since late 2019, and it's just seeing it kind of come to that final fruition bit. I know it's going to be good, and people keep telling me it's going to be good. I've seen all the visuals. We've gone through everything, but I'm just in that worry phase of just like, should that door be in that place? Do we have enough of these? Do we have enough of that? And so by September, I'll be nice and calm when it's all done and dusted.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Well, it's been an awesome conversation, a pleasure. You're definitely one of those we're going to have to get back at some point because there's still a lot to talk about. But we appreciate your time and really everything you're doing for the industry. We appreciate you making the trip over to the US for Juicy. Hopefully you'll come over for GWA in September as well. But sounds like you got an opening, so you may be busy with
Quite
that.
busy.
Hopefully. No, thank you very much for having me. It's all as ever. I'll definitely come back for round two. We can unpack more.
Awesome.
It's been fun.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.